Please have a big round of applause. Very good news, sir.
It's an honor to be here. This is not my first time in India, but every time I'm here, I'm overwhelmed by how kind the people are to me. So thank you. Thank you to the organizer. Thank you all for coming. I hope this session won't be too boring, although it's going to be quite technical. I'm trying to keep it accessible to everyone. So let's get started. So this is me on a good picture. That's not what happens normally. Normally I have my eyes closed and I go ugly faces. I'm CTO at makepositive. Very good partner, a platinum partner. You can see a group of pink t-shirts there. That is my team supporting. We're great. I'm a Salesforce certified technical architect. It's the culmination of a long journey working with this amazing technology. I am a technical guy myself, so I come from, I call myself a techie. I love coding, even though I don't do it much with my day-to-day job. I still love it. I think it's it's a very creative way to express oneself's idea. So every time I see a problem, I tend to code it myself, a solution around it. So a little bit about makepositive. Can you please go back one slide? These are our offices. We are Platinum Consulting partner. We deliver 1,000+ projects. We've been out there for a while. We proud ourselves of our very high CSAT score. We've got a team of roughly 120 people, and this matters today for our presentation because we will talk about what are we doing to make our team amazing even more every day. So, next slide. Our offices. We are UK based with presence here. We've got a large team here in India. And what else? Next slide. We've got, these are a little bit of the customers we're dealing with. And this is just to show you that we tend to work on complex, challenging projects. And this applies to what we're discussing today. And this is my favorite picture of the team before the drone fell on the floor. Right, okay, so cheeky title, the session as How to Be Perfect. Wow, so that's quite a lot, right? So if you came here to expect that I'll do my best, I think that perfection is something that it's not easy to reach, right? It's probably, I always think about the horizon. Figure yourself on somewhere on a mountain or near the sea, and you look at the horizon, right? And what's the purpose of the horizon, right? Every time you look at the horizon, it's there, you do one step, but the horizon goes back one step. So what's the purpose? Then you do another step. The horizon moves back one step. You quite never reach it. So what's the purpose of the horizon? Well, it's to make you walk, right? I think that perfection, in a way, is the same thing. It's not easy to reach, but if you chase perfection, you will ultimately catch excellence, which is, as professional, what we want. We want our people to be better and to be motivated to be better. So that is the idea. Now, we're talking about development, right? So here's some code. This is perfect. How many of you guys are developers on the platform? Can you raise your hands? Okay, that's good. So I don't know if you can see, it's probably very, very small for you there, but this is just an example of some production org from some, I don't know which org. It actually comes from a very close friend of mine. This is a tribute slide, by the way, for Mr. Robert, that was mentioned already in the presentation. I decided to include this slide because he's influenced a lot of the work that I'm doing today. So this code, can you read it first thing? Okay, so anyone that wants to try see if there's anything wrong with this code, anything they would do differently. Sorry? There is a DML in a for loop. Okay, so I think you're referring to this. This is very good. So this thing will work on your local machine. When you test it locally, it will work. You test it on your sandbox, it will probably work. You put it in a production environment, chances are this code will break. You need to know, you need to be good to know it. So well done. Anything else?
That's the same thing, is it?
First thing is like for inside for, we should not do that. The second one is we are writing the SQL inside a for loop. That is also not advisable.
Yeah?
Yes, and
What's the first thing, sorry?
for loop inside another for loop, which entails your CPU timeout.
Alright, okay. That's good. Anyone else want to comment on this code? All these points are great. Anyone? There are a few hidden things. Okay, I give you the solution. There are comments that are a bit outdated. This global, you might not know, but this is not really necessary because of how the code is used within the code base. So that was impossible for you to tell maybe. There is a software inside loop, very good. The code is hard to read. It's pretty hard to understand what it does, right? So it's very nested, and to some of the points that my friend presented earlier, there might be a bit of overlap between the two presentations because we are approaching the same problem from different angles. So this code, there is a lot of room for improvement, right? So works, in my words, it actually works in production of some environment, but it's not very clean. And as Robert says, good code is clean code. We saw that in the presentation earlier. So what makes your code good? Well, of course it needs to work, right? Should have high test coverage. This is what we are told every day. Increase the test coverage, it needs to go up to 75, 80%. Well, the reality is that code coverage, if you're all developers, you know it's quite easy to treat, right? Code coverage is an indicator, when it's low, is an indicator of very bad testing. But having a very high coverage doesn't necessarily mean that your tests are good, right? You can treat those test coverage actually. And we know that it doesn't have to break the platform, so governor limits, they need to work. You need to use the latest API. We know that the platform grows a lot frequently. There is a very, very good pace of updates. And if your code uses the latest version, chances are you're leveraging optimization and newest feature. So it's good to have these up to date. Need to follow best practice. We know this, right? There is more. Okay, we saw that in our early presentation, so I won't take too much time on this point. But the code needs to be easy to understand. And that means that if you scan through it, you should be able to understand what that is about. The names of the variables should be meaningful, should tell something. I like to think about the code that I write, about that becomes code that someone else will have to fix at some point, right? And someone said, always write your code as the person that is going to fix it is a psycho and knows where you live. Be nice to the people that will fix your code. It might be yourself 1 year from now, right? It needs to be easy to extend. What it means is that every time we don't know what we are going to add to our code, and the best possible code, every time we change something, we add something new, we've got a test somewhere that is breaking, and that single test is what we need to change. So if our tests are good, we've got good confidence that adding new functionality will still maintain the robustness of the solution, right? So in principle, if you get this, if you get a code that is easy to understand, your code is probably good. And it should be easy to maintain, right? You don't want to, sorry, I think I spoke the point. If every time you need to fix something, you don't want to, you don't want that to take ages, right? So all these things are very rational, maybe a bit. Ultimately, it should be easy to test. And this is very important. How many times you've got some code and when you try to test it, you need to create a test that has a lot of logic, a lot of ifs. It needs to cover a number of different inputs. That is an indication that your code is probably not good. Because it's not a testing problem, it's a design problem. If your code is hard to test, that it means that probably is not designed correctly. Good code is very easy to test. So you should always develop with testing in mind. One good thing, for example, that I always advise for is to write tests even before you write your code. You create your methods, they're empty, you write the test, the test will fail, and then you create the logic to satisfy your test. Hard to do, but when you do it, it's very powerful. Okay, so we now have a definition, or at least some traits, some characteristics of good code. So if we want to, we are now have the tools to be better ourselves. But what if we want everyone in our team to be better? So let's say we work in our project and we want everyone to embrace this idea of good code. What should we be doing? Right, so I always have one recommendation. If there is one thing that you need to do today, start doing code reviews. Okay? I've been for a very long time in my career the guy that was brought to fix bad projects, going badly, bad teams. Everything was a big challenge, customers unhappy. If you have to do one thing, start adopting code reviews with your team. Any of you are familiar with code reviews? Okay, so not everyone. So it might make sense to just tell you about it, just for very quickly. So the idea is that instead of talking in an abstract way, like we just did, we talked about specific criteria, but in a very kind of abstract way. So what you have to do is, for each of these criteria, you create a checklist. And every point in the checklist needs to be testable. It needs to have a yes-no answer, right? So readability is pointless, right? It's just there, it's just clutter. And you can have comments are simple in meaningful English. So all these things are testable, are a simple yes-no answer. And then once you have a checklist, by the way, I've got a checklist that I'll share the link afterwards, so you can go and pick it and use it and change it as you like. Peer review every change. So you've got this checklist, you print a copy of it, it's on each developer's desk, and then every time a feature is ready, every time you as a developer, you do your bit, you do your feature, it's 1-2 days, when it's ready, you ask for a code review. And you have someone else, it doesn't have to be your boss, it can be your peer, and you sit together, you look at the code with the checklist, and that's it, that's a code review. Okay? Okay, next one. So either they use an IDE or directly in Bjorn, and the conflicts are managed manually. So developer 1 would delete some code from developer 2. We know that, right? We've been there, right? Okay. So no version control, and changes are promoted manually, either using change sets or using an IDE, like Force.com, like Welkin, any IDE. So you have to move, to start doing code reviews, you have to do from this model to this model, where your team, still 3 guys, but instead of coding on an org, you code on a repository. You code on a Git repository. Git is my favorite technology of choice. So how many of you are familiar with this model in which developers use a Git repository? Like GitHub, Bitbucket are examples. Yes? Okay. So the idea is that this is like a time machine for code, right? If someone messes up, you can go back in time. That's what it is. It's like a file system, but it's a bit more clever. You've got versioning and branching, right? So if you do this, every developers will never delete someone else's code. Everything is, you've got the entire history of everything. And then this can be the place where you apply the code review, because it's a natural place, right? And then upstream, you can have continuous integration, other ways to deploy changes. I don't want to go into that, but if you want to do things properly, this is the type of tooling that you have to put in place. So you do the coding in the IDE, every IDE of choice. There are some very, very good ones out there. And you simply, you do collaboration instead of on the org, you do it via GitHub, Bitbucket, whatever. And your more experienced developer can be a code reviewer or do peer reviews. That is fine as long as you have a checklist. And the ideal is to keep your changes small. So don't change 1,000 classes at once. Change 1, 2, 3, do small features and then review. So that reviews don't take more than 20 minutes. Yeah? If you do this, you will see the quality of the work go up. That's for granted. Just the act of talking about your code, having someone else to review it, talk someone else through your code, your logic, that in itself is how you start talking about the quality of what you're doing. And you will recognize your mistakes, you will catch someone else's mistakes earlier. This is a very simple thing, extremely powerful in my experience. And if you are familiar with GitHub, if you use Git, there is a functionality that is called pull request. I don't want to go too much into details. I'll give you a demo of this later. But this is a very natural place for a code review to happen. It's a very natural moment. It's like a request for review by the rest of your team. And the team can go on GitHub or whatever tool you choose and see only what has changed. So instead of looking at the 1,000 classes you have, they will only see the change you made. So that is very convenient. I'll share the link later, don't worry, I'll tweet it. Create a review checklist. So either use this, change it, everything is different. Build your own, as long as you have one. And then collaborate using Git. If you don't do it today, start immediately. There is a lot of gain in this. Yeah? And peer review every incremental change. It's very simple to do, it's very easy, it doesn't take much time, but it's a very good habit. Everyone will learn from each other. Very powerful. Okay. So, we now have a happy team. You might not think about it. You have a problem to solve. Coding is a creative way, it's a creative work. So you might think about your problem, but you might not think about what is the long-term impact of it, right? So this helps. And the code becomes more consistent, easy to maintain. There is a lot of science around this. You can Google online. There is a lot of data that proves that this is a very good thing to do. There is a lot of good impact. And the cost of later rewards is always reduced. So one thing that everyone needs to know is that if I fix a bug early on, that costs maybe half an hour to fix one day. If that bug or problem is production, the time that it takes to solve it, it's way longer. Because you have to open production, branch out, bug fix, troubleshoot, bug fix, test the fix, right? It takes a lot of time. So what does it mean? It costs more. So the earliest you catch a problem, the better it is. You are saving money. The problem with code reviews, they're not perfect. It takes time to develop the habit. It takes time. It's a change. It's a new thing. It's hard. People make mistakes, especially in zero. Chances are you're close enough, right? And if there is a problem, I'll fix it next time, next iteration, and you accept that. So it's hard to be disciplined. We're humans after all, right? And if your project becomes larger and larger, and your team becomes larger, these reviews might take a lot of time, right? Might also even become a blocker. We learned how to be better ourselves today. We learned the importance of a journey, of chasing perfection. We learned how we can even affect our team to be better. So we're changing already the world a little bit here. So that's I think remarkable. But in an organization like ours, as the CTO of makepositive, I have to think, how can we make this apply at scale across everything we do? Every single product, how do we make it happen? Right? I cannot be myself reviewing code for everyone. Right? So it was clear in my head that we needed to overcome a challenge. Right? So automation is an answer. In my world, where I see a problem, I think about code. And that's how I fix the problem. So I had this vision a while ago, and the idea was simple. It's basically, that is the one that we heard before. It's very good. This is very good stuff. However, what I had in mind didn't really apply, because PMD is basically designed to analyze one file at a time, and in the Salesforce world, that's not enough in most cases. I'll give you an example. How many of you would create multiple triggers on the same object? Okay. How many know that creating multiple triggers on the same object is a problem? Okay. So, about the product based on feedback. We started using it on a couple of projects, see if that works. There are things that good feedback and negative feedback. We iterate it, we make it better. And the idea is that this is the URL. If you can go, you can go and try yourself and run code review. We are using it today at makepositive. We're running. I would like to give you a demo very quickly, because I want to show you why this, how we are now looking at the broader version control. These are my classes. This is my Salesforce code. Okay, you following? Yeah. So I will now connect this repository. There are a number of checks, right? This is basically where you define for the team. I want everyone in the team to be aware of what we are checking. We're not just enforcing the rules. So we accept it. And then, as a developer, what I will do is I will create a new branch. I will simulate basic that will comment like a human person. This method is empty. Remove it. That human-like comment experience. I know it's not the same thing, but it's already an immediate check. So that's it. Okay. So that's it. That's what we are doing at makepositive. I think it's pretty cool. I'm really proud of it. But it's not just the price. There are also numbers to it. There are facts. So this is the amount of lines that the tool has reviewed without even the team knowing. Yeah, the team wasn't even aware of this. And the tool reviewed 52 million lines. And the same, to review these many lines, if you do the math, a human takes like 200 per hour, roughly. So that hours we save to our developers. Just by automating it. Like some people. And this is how many problems we actually resolve. So our developers, we're not done, right? We're not done yet. We still have room for improvement. We don't fix everything. But this is how many problems we fixed thanks to automating these checks. We will not hit our customers. They will not have to pay later to fix them, right? So if you quantify the time, the amount of time you save from review, how much time you save because you're not fixing the problems late, this is roughly an estimate of how many pounds, which is, I think, is remarkable. It's something, right? In a year, it's something. So a few considerations. If you start measuring something, chances are you can improve it, right? Because you're aware. So of course, I monitor everything. I don't tell my team, but I monitor everything. And I can see that the quality improves over time. Now talk about it, right? We might say, oh, I keep having these checks, it's very annoying, but we talk about it. That's something. Because we become aware of a problem. And that is the first step to resolve it. And also, we know that the resolution rates goes up. So how many problems are we fixing today? How many problems we're fixing tomorrow? The ratio goes up, which is good. And we can now target our training. So I can look at this and say, okay, we do, in this project, we do a lot of whatever this problem is, hard-coded IDs. Our team at scale keeps making this mistake. So as a CTO, I can create a training session, I can create a training initiative, go with management, go to the management, reach quickly and talk to my team and say, okay guys, we have a problem, can we do something about it? Which is also very good. So, a few takeaways. So, doesn't matter what tools you use, there are plenty of tools. Of course, I've shown the one that I built because I'm proud, it's my baby in a way. But doesn't really matter. The important thing is that you create a culture where code quality matters. This is the first step to become perfect. Embrace code reviews. So it's simple, very powerful. Start doing it today. And create a review checklist. That is the first step to think, what should we have in our code? What do we call as a team or as an organization good? And let tools help you. There are many of them. We've seen PMD, this stuff is good. Okay, so, and some of them are open source, so they're pretty much free. Or if you want to use Clayton, you go on the website, you create an account, and you start reviewing code automatically in a couple of clicks. The important thing is that you do something about it. And if you want, I'm happy to have a chat with any of you. This is my Twitter handle. If you want to follow, ask questions, always happy. And yeah, time for questions. Thank you.